On the day we were supposed to take wedding photos, Rachel's first love showed up. She threw me a cameraman and said, "You can take pictures with him, just Photoshop me in later." I stared at my ex-girlfriend in front of me, lost in thought. My ex smiled. "Shall we take the photos?" We didn't just take photos, we got married. Rachel later regretted it. Why did you take it seriously with her? I sat on the couch, absent-mindedly flipping through a magazine. My fiancée wasn't far, sweet talking her first love on the phone. "Don't worry, I'll be there soon," she said. I heard Rachel hang up and come over, looking anxious. "Billy, there's something I need to deal with, I have to go." I stood up. "What is it? Is he terminally ill?" Rachel frowned. "Don't say that, he just caught a cold." The studio staff around were whispering among themselves. I kept looking at Rachel. "It's only a cold." Someone chuckled. The spectators couldn't hold their laughter either. Rachel glanced back, feeling embarrassed. She pursed her lips and coldly chuckled. "It's just wedding photos. They can be taken by anyone." Then she turned away, grabbing a woman to stand with me. "Take photos with this photographer. Just Photoshop me in later," and left in a hurry. She was really worried about her first love. Didn't even notice the stand-in she chose was my first love. Jenny's face appeared unexpectedly, still stunning as ever. I swallowed and found my throat dry, unable to speak. Jenny smiled, her enchanting black eyes shimmering. Elegant and independent, yet carefree. With an arched eyebrow, Jenny asked, "Shall we take photos?" I was slow to respond, instead asking, "Are you working here?" Jenny's expression was subtle, as she softly uttered, "Passing by." She asked again, "Shall we?" I took a deep breath. Yes. Rachel went to her first love, so why not take wedding photos with mine? Very reasonable. Jenny was cooperative and went to change. In front of the camera, the photographer awkwardly suggested, "Relax, get closer." I turned to look at Jenny. She gently lifted the corner of her mouth. Her slender hand circled my waist naturally. Such intimacy was familiar to us. Jenny asked, "Where's your fiancé?" Amazed at how she could still discuss this with me, I moved her hand slightly aside. Maintaining a sweet smile, she went to her first love. Jenny looked deeply at me. In the photos, we surely looked like a loving engaged couple, or maybe about to be a real couple. "Oh, like us right now?" she asked. "Okay, next pose." "You two should be a bit more intimate," the photographer said. Jenny's face slowly moved closer. Her slow and seductive style of kissing always left me wanting more. My heart raced, and I instinctively closed my eyes. She whispered, "Are you free tonight?" Her voice was low, with a teasing undertone. Despite the crowd, Jenny asked, yet I was too shy to answer. My heart thumped with a mix of guilt and excitement, ready to burst from my chest. While changing positions, I leaned close to her and whispered, "I have a fiancé." Jenny's soft scoff echoed. In front of everyone, what was I thinking? Jenny's gentle voice pulled me from my thoughts. "Where's your fiancé now?" I quickly looked up at her, meeting her bright eyes. Yes, where was she? I didn't answer that question, just the previous one. "I'm free tonight." Jenny seemed pleased with my answer, grinning brightly. She hadn't changed. She could attract me effortlessly. The photos turned out well. The photographer praised how we worked well, describing it vividly. "You two are in sync. Every gesture, every look, so natural. Especially the groom's look, intense yet met equally by the bride. Full of story." A staff member reminded her, "You do realize they aren't together, right?" The photographer looked at Jenny, then me, finally realizing, and slapped her forehead. "Oh, you two didn't know each other, did you?" Jenny walked over. "Can I get the digital copies now?" The staff was hesitant. "We haven't edited them yet." Jenny showed a card. "I can pay more." "All right." The staff quickly agreed, taking the card and helping Jenny. I changed back into my clothes and checked my phone. Lots of missed calls and unread messages, but none from Rachel. Good. I was absolutely free tonight. Outside it was getting dark. "Want to go to my place directly?" I asked Jenny. Her dark eyes glimmered with a sly smile, stunning in the city lights. "Let's go to the supermarket first," she replied. My thoughts wandered to embarrassing places, but I nodded. "Sure, let's go. There's this big supermarket nearby, so the two of us just walked over. This is actually my first time coming with Jenny to buy contraceptives. So I didn't hesitate and followed her into the store. Even though I never bought any before, I knew they were at the counter. As Jenny walked further into the store, I held her back, pointing at those little boxes, and said, "They're right here." Jenny looked back at me, then at where I was pointing and paused. I started freaking out internally. Please don't tell me I got it wrong. Jenny silently chuckled. Don't worry, let's buy groceries first. Then she held my hand as we went inside. Jenny gripped one of my hands while pushing a cart with the other, heading to the vegetable section. What do you want to eat? All I wanted was to hold on to the moment with her. Whatever. The snowing outside. How about hot pot? Jenny suggested and started putting fresh vegetables into the cart, letting go of my hand. Next up was seafood, beef rolls, and lamb rolls, all my favorites. Is that enough? She asked. I shook my head. Jenny paused for a moment. Do you have extra toiletries at your place? I swallowed, yeah. All right then. Jenny held my hand again, just like before we broke up, so naturally. At the checkout, she picked up 2 boxes of contraceptives, putting them with the other items. Jenny walked into my kitchen, not surprised by the brand new kitchenware. I don't cook at home, don't know how. She didn't ask where anything was. Not that I'd know if she did. She'd already bought all the spices and ingredients and started getting everything ready. As the host, I just sat on the couch waiting for dinner. Rachel still hadn't contacted me. Jenny came out, saw me staring at my phone, and gave a cold laugh. Waiting for your fiancé to call? No. I put down the phone, meeting her gaze. I'm afraid of her calling. That's the truth. Things have come to a point where the outcome is pretty clear. I don't want to be entangled with Rachel. Jenny smirked softly. Wash up. Time to eat. The steam from the hot pot rose between us, and through the mist, I looked at her, feeling unexpectedly excited. When did you get back? I asked. Jenny placed some cooked mushrooms in my bowl, her tone calm. About a week ago. I picked up the mushroom, hearing Jenny's voice in my ear. It's hot. My eyes focused on the mushroom. Did you just happen to pass by that photo studio today? Jenny replied, no. My heart raced. This feeling was both strange and familiar. Only being with Jenny made my heart beat so vividly and intensely. So why did you go in? Jenny's tone remained lazy. I saw you go in. This answer, somehow expected, stirred my emotions even more. I looked up at her. Jenny, do you still like me? Jenny stood, placing cooked beef into my bowl. When she got close, I heard her say, when did I ever stop liking you? Jenny and I were college classmates. Even at the start, she was a big deal on campus, just because of her astonishing beauty. I fell for her at first sight, being the sucker for looks that I am. But she was the one who pursued me first. Like all first loves, it was wonderful and intense. We loved each other deeply, the kind of feelings that years later would still be heartwarming to remember. But we didn't just love each other, we also competed. Scholarships, student council president, competition rankings. She never gave in to me, nor did I to her. We kept competing from school into the real world. Maybe because we both have high standards and oddly similar tastes, we always found ourselves eyeing the same projects. It went on like this until we ended up breaking up. I was the one who ended it. During that time, I was under a lot of pressure. My parents hoped I'd achieve something and eventually take over the family business. But my cousin was also very competent, 5 years older with much more experience. Naturally, I was at a disadvantage. And that project I had my eyes on, Jenny happened to snag it. The deputy CEO position fell into my cousin's hands. That was the first time I lost my temper with Jenny over competition. Are you even still my girlfriend? I demanded. Jenny was unfazed. Billy, if I hold back, it's an insult to you. I took a deep breath, closing my eyes. I'm tired, Jenny. Let's break up. Jenny didn't agree, of course. After a few more fights, I yelled for her to leave. She really did leave, went abroad. Now there's no one to compete with. At that point, Rachel returned from abroad. Rachel and I have known each other since we were kids. basically grew up together. Her history with Tom was something I was also well aware of. They'd been together since high school and went abroad after graduation. All that on again, off again drama over the years. When Rachel chose to come back, Tom broke up with her. Both our families started working closely, and so Rachel and I agreed on an arranged marriage. Why Rachel agreed, I don't know. I only know that after losing the deputy CEO position, my sights were set on becoming the CEO. Marrying Rachel would give me more weight in the competition. A year ago, both families publicly announced our engagement, and both companies' stock prices surged. Coming to take wedding photos today was also publicized. I figured if I hadn't seen Rachel talking to Tom on the phone, we'd be getting our marriage license tomorrow. But she went to see Tom and still hasn't contacted me. She's probably still with Tom now. A guy and a girl alone together, especially exes, what could happen is obvious. What will happen with Jenny and me tonight is also pretty clear. After dinner, Jenny was washing the dishes in the kitchen. I thought about trying to rekindle the relationship that had been broken for a year, so I followed her in. "I'll help you," I offered. Jenny said, "No need." I stood silently on the side. Suddenly, Jenny called out my name. "Billy." It was the first time she'd said my name since we reunited. My heart skipped a beat. I quickly responded, "What's up?" Jenny continued washing the dishes, her low voice booming with seriousness. "Break off the engagement with her." Her obviously referred to Rachel. I smirked. "You don't have to tell me. Rachel's probably gone several rounds with Tom by now. Marrying her would be disgusting. Even if it's arranged, I need someone clean." Jenny looked at me, a teasing smile in her eyes. "I thought you liked her." That sounded a bit salty. I rolled my eyes. "So you came back knowing I was going to take wedding photos with her?" Jenny admitted openly, "Yeah, I knew." "Then you must have seen the news about my engagement with Rachel a year ago. Why didn't you come back to stop it?" She put down the bowl, turned to me with a serious gaze. "Would you have canceled the engagement if I came back then?" I shook my head. "No. Back then I was angry. I'm stubborn like that. I thought since we broke up, that's it for this life." Agreeing to the engagement with Rachel was a firm decision. If she had come back to stop it, given my personality, it would have gotten more awkward between us. Jenny knew me well. She continued washing. I walked over. "Weren't you worried I might have had something with Rachel over this year?" Jenny paused for a second, then continued, "I didn't think about it. I thought she was pretty laid back about it." But then she suddenly put down the bowl and looked at me. "But now I am thinking." She came up to me. "Did anything happen?" "Nope," I replied. "Rachel doesn't like me and I don't like her. What could possibly happen?" Jenny's eyes were like the dark night outside. The next morning, when I opened my eyes, Jenny was lying beside me, staring at her phone screen. Suddenly, it felt so right, like this wasn't a dream. I moved closer. "What are you doing?" I saw that Jenny's phone screen showed our wedding photos from yesterday. In the years when my feelings for Jenny were at their peak, I thought about marrying her. Back then, I never imagined our wedding photos would be taken under these circumstances. "What's so interesting?" I reached over and pressed her phone. Jenny turned to look at me. "They're pretty." "What's pretty about them?" I got out of bed, looked down at Jenny sitting there. "Still need to be photoshopped." Jenny gritted her teeth, a slight fierceness between her eyebrows. "Didn't get enough from last night?" My face flushed as I glared at her, holding my waist to the bathroom. Behind me, Jenny's laughter echoed, full of arrogance. "Whenever she beats me, it's like this. Whether in school or in the business world, Jenny and I are evenly matched. But in this matter, I'm no match for her. I can only watch her be smug. It drives me nuts." At the bathroom door, I couldn't help but turn and glare at her. "Just wait. Someday I'll get you." Jenny casually flipped the covers, arms wide, eyebrows raised, looking like a mischievous fox. "Bring it on." I got ready and headed out. Jenny had breakfast ready. 2 bowls of greens and noodles. I lowered my head to eat, and Jenny reminded, "Don't forget, break off the engagement." I agreed. After breakfast, I went straight to the company to find my parents. It's my dad's company, part of our family business. In the CEO's office, after I explained everything, both my parents looked extremely displeased. My mom asked, "What's your plan?" Hearing this, my dad looked up at me too. I didn't hesitate, break off the engagement. No, that's not right. Not breaking off, but calling the whole thing off. Why should I give Rachel an easy out after the disgusting stuff she did? Let alone a fancy breakup. My mom nodded in satisfaction, looking at me with approval. That's my boy. Yeah, let's call it off. My dad gave my mom a helpless look and shook his head with a smile. Our son takes after you. Of course, I want to be like my mom, be my own success story. No need for arranged marriages. I've realized now, relying on yourself is the best way. All right, you two don't need me then. My dad huffed, clearly jealous. He'll let mom smooth things over. After making a plan to officially call it off at Rachel's tomorrow, I got busy with work. It wasn't until past 8 p.m. that I got back home. Stepping out of the elevator, I unexpectedly saw Jenny at the door. I hurried over. "Why didn't you go in?" Jenny stood with arms crossed, leaning against the wall, eyebrows raised. "I don't have the code or my fingerprint recorded. How should I get in?" She's sarcastic at times. I took her hand, recorded her fingerprint for the lock, and gave her the code. "Just come in next time." Jenny suddenly pulled me close, her lips hot on mine as she pushed me against the door. "Isn't this a bit rushed?" I held her waist and kissed back. It was in that moment I fully realized how much I missed her over the year we were apart. We might still argue fiercely and challenge each other, but I never want to be apart from her again. "Billy." I vaguely heard someone calling my name, but my ears were filled with Jenny's breath, heard only faintly. I thought it was a hallucination. Jenny suddenly released my lips. I lifted my head and followed her gaze. Rachel's angry face came into view. She stormed over like a ticking time bomb. Jenny let go of me and stepped forward. As Rachel swung to slap her, Jenny grabbed Rachel's wrist and slapped her face with lightning speed. Rachel fell to the ground from the force. She got up like a lunatic and lunged at Jenny again, cursing. "Touch my man, I'll kill you." Once again, Jenny kicked her down. With one foot pressing on Rachel's stomach, Jenny's voice was low and cold, demanding obedience. "Billy's not yours." Rachel spat out blood, wiped her mouth messily, and glared at me. "Billy, you cheat on me." But she couldn't finish because Jenny pressed harder on her stomach. "You know what you've done. Keep your mouth clean." Jenny withdrew her foot, turned, grabbed my hand, and used my fingerprint to unlock the door, leading me inside and closing the door behind us. There were frantic knocks at the door. I was annoyed and was about to deal with it when Jenny cupped my cheeks. Focus. I lost track of when the knocking ended. Jenny's presence was too overwhelming after a year apart. I only realized Rachel had left while we ate. I didn't want to see her again, but we'd have to meet to break off the engagement, though my parents said they'd handle it. After the engagement was off, my mom called to say it was done and we should find a time to announce it. Even though I don't like that girl Rachel, we shouldn't completely ruin our relationship with her family. My mom said, "We still have to keep appearances." I understood. "You shouldn't make enemies lightly." "Mom, I know. Let Dad know I'm fine. I'm actually doing really well now." She laughed proudly. "I know, my son. Focusing on his career. I'm so proud." I felt a bit guilty and stayed silent. Truth is, I'm not focusing purely on my career. It's just that Rachel's nonsense didn't matter to me. But Jenny's back, and I've been wanting to spoil her. My mom's voice came through again, "But you should enjoy life, eat well, have fun. Don't just focus on work. Dating's important too." "Don't worry, Mom. I won't ignore my love life." She paused. "Has someone caught your eye?" I chuckled. "Mom, I'm busy. Bye." I quickly hung up. Jenny wrapped her arms around me from behind, pressed gentle kisses into my neck. "Is the breakup settled?" I'm ticklish, so I squirmed and teased her. "No." Jenny paused her kisses and bit me playfully. Her hands slipped under my shirt. I stopped her hands, pulled her to the couch. She obediently sat and waited. I love how she cooperates. But my phone didn't cooperate when I was about to take things further. It rang. Rachel was calling. She still wanted to see me. Jenny's grip on my waist tightened like a vice. "Don't go. Just one last time." I cupped her face, kissed her lips. "I have some unfinished business." Rachel insulting me like that. If Jenny hadn't appeared at the studio, Rachel would have picked someone random for engagement pictures. I can't let that slide. We met at a cafe. It was calm, not crowded, good for talking. She started, "Who's that woman?" "Billy, we've been together a year and you won't even hold my hand. But you're all over her. Don't forget, we're getting engaged." Rachel pursed her lips, nodding as she continued. "I know I shouldn't have left you at the wedding shoot. I shouldn't have gone to see Tom. But you know, Billy, how deep my past with Tom was. Now he's back. How could I ignore him?" She sighed. "Tom's sick." I was confused until she added, "But don't worry, you're still my priority. I can't ignore Tom, though. He's sick, alone. There's only me." Her breathing steadied as she looked serious. "So you and that woman, just this once. Okay? But it's the last time. That woman was the one I randomly picked for the studio, right? You wanted revenge. Huh? I'll admit I was wrong." I interrupted her. "Did your parents not tell you?" She paused. "Tell me what?" I sat up straighter. "Since your parents didn't inform you, I'll tell you. Rachel, I'm not marrying you." Her eyes narrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" I smiled. "Means I don't want you." Rachel shot to her feet. "Who are you calling trash?" Her outburst drew gazes from the other patrons. She sat back down, whispering harshly, "Billy, you know the nature of our engagement. Don't act childish. And I'm not marrying Tom. Rachel, won't marry someone unwanted." "Yeah, I was with him, but weren't you with that photographer too? We're even." I stood and faced her. Rachel thought I was going to back down. Slightly raising her chin, "Billy, you know why I'm here?" I asked her with a smile. Rachel smiled back. "Billy, we've known each other since we were kids. You've always been someone who cares about the big picture. It's a quality I admire in you." I shook my head slightly. "No, I'm here to give you something." Before Rachel could ask what it was, I couldn't wait and slapped her. Perfect. Everyone's attention was on us now. Rachel's face went from red to white, glaring at me in disbelief. "Rachel, I'll let it go that you humiliated me in the photography studio. But if you show up and disgust me again, I won't care about our childhood friendship anymore." I wasn't sure if I stunned her or scared her. As I left the cafe, she caught up and grabbed my wrist tightly. "Billy." I shook her hand off and got into the car parked nearby. Jenny started the engine. "All sorted?" I nodded. Jenny held my wrist, her thumb rubbing gently. "Can I visit your folks now?" She was serious, unlike her usual laid-back self. "I've wanted to meet them for a while." I knew what she meant. If I hadn't lost that project to Jenny a year ago, missing out on the VP spot at the Sioux Group, we might have already met the parents. I'm still a bit worried. "Do you think we'll get impulsive and split up again?" "I won't." Jenny's reply was clear and firm. She gently squeezed my hand. "I know what you're worried about. Sometimes I think maybe I should let you win and stop competing. After we broke up, I thought about it every day. Billy, I can let you win. I'd do it forever. But it won't help you in the slightest." I nodded. "I know. When we broke up, it wasn't that I blamed her for not letting me win. I just lost to my cousin and was upset, venting on her. I know that's on me. Jenny, I won't talk about breaking up lightly anymore." Well, it's about time I heard that, Jenny teased. My parents didn't know I'd been dating, let alone about Jenny. At that time, I wanted to win against Jenny and then bring her home. But looking back now, it's laughable how competitive I was a year ago. My folks were naturally pleased with Jenny. They arranged a dinner with her parents to discuss our wedding. When it was just the two of us, I couldn't help but say, had we gotten engaged earlier, maybe my grandpa would have been so happy he'd make me VP. The thought excited me. "Do you think he'd make me the CEO?" Jenny rolled her eyes. "Are you marrying me or forging a business alliance?" I pouted. "My bad. It's not an alliance. It's a power couple." Jenny ruffled my hair. "I'll run the bath. Want to join me?" I jumped up. "No way. I still have work. Can I borrow your laptop?" I darted into her study, avoiding the bath invite. I knew her laptop password. My name's Pinion and her birthday. I've got my eye on a new project, initially planned with Rachel. Now, I want to snag it myself. I swear I wasn't snooping. but I accidentally clicked on a folder with my name and a date. Couldn't help it. Inside were some photos from the past year and info about Rachel. She had records of her contacts with Tom, even knowing when he returned. I remembered Jenny telling me when Tom returned, which overlapped with her knowledge. I thought Jenny was cool-headed. Turns out, she's been aware of everything all along. But since Rachel and I just announced a partnership with no moves, she stayed quiet. Jenny walked in, saw me looking at the files and didn't seem awkward at all. I gave her a side glance. If I had married Rachel, would you have crashed the wedding? Jenny cleared her throat, then said confidently, Rachel's trouble. I crash a wedding anytime. I waved her off. Leave, I gotta work. I'm getting this project no matter what. I underestimated Rachel's ambition. We met again at a business event. Rachel brought Tom along. They were as transparent as ever. Rachel's look said, you didn't cherish me. Now I'm with someone else. It's too late for you. Tom's eyes seemed to say, I gave you a year. You blew it, Rachel's still mine. Why am I stuck with two idiots? Laughing would make me seem shallow. I held in my laughter as they approached. Rachel glanced at my sides and sneered. Just you? Where's your partner? Before I could speak, she added, oh, right, I forgot she's just a photographer. No way she'd be here. Rachel let go of Tom and walked over to me. She leaned in close and whispered, feeling any regret breaking off our engagement for some photographer? Billy, I'm giving you another chance. If you just give in now, you can still have your place by my side. I turned to Tom and said, she's telling me that if I give in, my place next to her is still mine. Rachel's face turned green. Tom's expression was priceless. What nonsense are you spouting? Rachel said, going back to Tom. Don't listen to him. Tom was struggling to keep it together but tried to hold his ground. But while I was in the restroom, he hurried over to warn me, telling me to stay away from Rachel. I laughed. What right do you have to warn me? The other woman, when she and Rachel started up again, Rachel was still engaged to me. Tom tilted his chin up. Rachel's always loved me. The one who's not loved is the other person. I was speechless. Their logic was twisted and they really were a match made in, well, somewhere. But Tom, if Rachel really loves you, why did she leave you to come back here alone in the first place? Tom clenched his teeth and glared at me stubbornly. If you want to keep deluding yourself, I shrugged. It's none of my business. I'd actually enjoy watching you two crash and burn, since I love a good drama. But let me give you a heads up. That woman who supposedly only loves you once told me she'd never marry a divorced man. What you do next is up to you. I touched up my lipstick and walked out. In situations like these, Jenny usually doesn't show up. Everyone says the heir to the J group is low-key and mysterious, especially since Jenny went abroad. There's all sorts of wild tales about her. Some say she's moved overseas to expand the business, showing both ambition and capability, making her stand out among her peers. Others say she's abroad to heal a broken heart from her first love. So even though Jenny isn't around, her stories are everywhere. At tonight's party, people brought her up again, with everyone eager to connect and partner with this new rising star. Who was Jenny's first love anyway? When I got back to the ballroom, I overheard Rachel discussing Jenny and her first love with someone. They laughed. Rachel, you want to partner with Jenny too? Rachel just smiled and nodded knowingly. Did I just catch something juicy? Rachel wants to partner with Jenny? She just had a blow-up with Jenny, and now she's practically a nuisance to her. When the party ended, I said my goodbyes to a few others and was about to get in my car when Rachel approached me. Tom wasn't with her. Billy, Rachel said as she joined me, I know you're interested in that project. You know, I also want in on it. I thought she was going to boldly suggest teaming up again, but instead she said, I could let you have it if we renew our engagement. What do you think? I glanced over to see Tom coming out from behind her. He saw Rachel with me but didn't approach, just stood at the hotel entrance looking deep in thought. I shifted my focus back to Rachel. Before I could reply, Jenny's voice called out, Honey, are you ready? Rachel spotted Jenny and her face twisted with mild annoyance, only to mock when she saw Jenny's car. Billy, she said, I can't believe you're into a woman who needs you to get her a car. Think about what I said. Rachel acted confident like she had the upper hand. I'm about to partner with Jenny. Her company's backing can offer you more benefits than that photographer ever could. She chuckled, though I admit I can't take pictures like she does. You've got a week to think it over, Rachel added with a cryptic look, then left. Jenny and I exchanged a glance before getting in the car. Where did your parents find this idiot to set you up with? Jenny asked once inside. I felt a bit insulted. A week later, Rachel arranged to meet again. I knew I shouldn't be wasting my time with her. Yet I couldn't help meeting her. In a busy life, having an occasional idiot pop in to spice things up? That's a special treat. This time Rachel chose a vineyard for our rendezvous. As I sat down, she poured a glass of red for me. Try this. I made it myself. I smiled at her. Wow, you're amazing. Rachel blushed. The pure innocence lasted a moment before she got smug again. Billy, have you made up your mind? I gently rubbed the glass. You've been waiting all week for me to decide? Rachel held my gaze, of course. That makes sense. I nodded. What do you mean makes sense? Rachel asked, confused. I got the project. I said, grateful. If you hadn't spent the week doing nothing, I might not have snagged it so quickly. Rachel opened her mouth, but I didn't let her speak. Thanks to your inaction, shaving minutes off my time, I owe you gratitude. Rachel's no fool. She knew my message. Beating her took mere minutes. Her brow furrowed. What are you saying? I tilted my head with a grin. I'm saying you're not fit to be my competition. Rachel stood up. Are you saying the engagement's off? With an admiring look, I replied, you catch on quick. Billy, you're playing with me. Rachel fumed, humiliated. But soon she went back to her usual self-righteousness. It's just a project. Do you really think I care? Billy, I was gonna let it slide because we've known each other since we were kids. But you brought this on yourself. She threw out a harsh remark and walked away with big strides. That idiot just swept away my fatigue in an instant. I've been eyeing Rachel's project for a while, made several proposals, and even beat out a few competitors. Finally signed the deal the day before yesterday. Landing a big project and now also have some drama to enjoy. Life's pretty sweet. I went to find Jenny, planning to celebrate. Jenny's parents were there too, which I didn't expect. Turns out they're here to support Jenny officially taking over as president of the company. Jenny's mom held my hand, saying, this daughter taking over as president before marrying you seems fitting, right? Their internal power struggles are like any wealthy family. I just didn't think Jenny would come back after a year abroad and snag the president position. Her going abroad definitely wasn't just because of our breakup. Sure enough, after Jenny's parents left, she admitted it. I went abroad mainly for the company's sake. But when you wanted to break up, I just couldn't deal with it all, so I left. She coughed, looked down, and watched me with puppy eyes, like she was pleading. But I didn't want to break up, so I secretly looked into your fiancé. I rolled my eyes. So the story that you went abroad because of a broken heart from your first love, that was for my ears? Jenny nodded cautiously. Yeah, for you to hear. Unbelievable. And you blocked me. I couldn't just go a whole year with no news. What if I forgot about you? I can't just let this slide. I gotta give her a piece of my mind or I'd feel uneasy. So I get it. The president position is more important to you than I am. Jenny looked at me with insightful eyes. If I can't snag the top job, would you still marry me? I know your standards for a partner are high. Gotta be handsome, fit, low-key but mysterious, good at cooking, super capable. If I lose to my siblings, you definitely wouldn't want me. She started pitying herself again. But why do I feel like this is a humble brag? She did hold herself to that standard, though. Now I was the one feeling awkward. I was just talking casually. Young and had dreams, you know. Jenny stood up straight and tall. So I don't have to act all otherworldly in the future? Of course not, you're not a celestial being. Jenny suddenly leaned toward my ear. So, can I go to the bathroom in front of you now? Get lost. Jenny and I went to celebrate my project's success. I didn't expect to run into Rachel at the company entrance. She sincerely told the receptionist, just give me 10 minutes. Please allow me to see her. I tugged Jenny along. Rachel? Rachel was surprised to see Jenny and me. Billy, you came to see Jenny too? Are you doing this on purpose to get back at me? She gave Jenny a once-over. I'd advise you to get lost quickly. This isn't a place for people like you. Just then, someone approached and bowed deeply to Jenny. President, I'll escort her out now. Rachel's contempt faded. She stood there dumbfounded, staring at Jenny. After a moment, she blurted out, President? You're? Someone beside her explained, this is our company's new president, Miss Jenny. Rachel's eyes widened. You're Jenny? Her face turned pale as she gulped several times. You're Jenny? You guys? She looked at me in disbelief. When did you get together? Jenny pulled me close, introducing my first love, Billy. And I'm his first love too, she said proudly. Rachel didn't have time to respond before being escorted out. Jenny, let me explain. Billy, speak up for me. We've known each other since forever. Jenny snapped. I'm even more upset now that she brought that up. Being childhood pals is nothing special. As I continued watching where Rachel was being taken away, she nudged me. Still looking. Is it that interesting? I nodded. Yeah, having an idiot in the mix makes it kind of fun for us. Jenny snorted, interesting, my ass. She's not acting like the CEOs in those novels anymore. She's really letting loose. When we got in the car, Jenny leaned over, looking at me seriously. Billy, there's something I want to tell you. I nodded, go on. I'm not a CEO and I'm not cool at all. Will you still like me? Her eyes were full of hope. I pressed my lips to stifle a laugh. Yes, I will. And she cleared her throat and asked cautiously, if I'm a bit of a lovesick fool, will you still like me? I was about to burst into laughter, biting my lower lip, nodding. Yes. Jenny sighed in relief and hugged me tightly. You're the best. Suddenly, I felt like I didn't know her anymore. But isn't that better? More exciting, right? When Rachel found me again, she looked a lot worse off. Nothing like her usual arrogant self. Billy, please say something nice to Jenny for me. Everyone in the industry knows I messed with her. No one wants to work with me, and even my family is abandoning me. I'm really at a dead end. She kept playing on our history, we grew up together. Help me out, would you? I'm begging you. I shook my head. No way. After how she humiliated me in the studio. Did she really think I'd help her out? Am I some kind of fool? Just don't contact me anymore. I don't want to see you. I got up to leave. Rachel hasn't come looking for me since. But I did see her one day. She was arguing with Tom on the street. I gave you so much money and bought you a house, and now you won't sell it to help me? Tom guarded himself with his arms. Those were gifts. Plus, didn't you always say you wouldn't take a second-hand good? So why are you begging this second-hand good now? Rachel, I won't help you. I have zero feelings for you now. I regret ever liking you. Just looking at you makes me sick. Get lost. Tom shrugged her off and walked away quickly. When he saw me, he raised his chin and walked over. Billy, thanks for giving me a heads up. I've saved up a bit and figured out how I want to live. Life's pretty good. As for Rachel, you can have her if you want. I'm done. I shrugged. You don't want her, and neither do I. Tom went abroad again. The money Rachel had given him was enough for him to pursue the life he wanted overseas. What he does isn't my concern. Anyway, Jenny, because Rachel was clinging to me before, exposed her for having an engagement with me while still being mixed up with her ex. The group's stock plummeted, and they immediately announced they had no further ties with Rachel. Now, Rachel's just a pest nobody wants around. What happens to her next, that's her own problem. Jenny started planning our wedding. A week before registering, she handed me an agreement, transferring all her assets to me. I wasn't exactly surprised, but I couldn't help asking, why are you giving me everything? Jenny looked at me with a straightforward expression. Didn't you say you like that? I'll give you anything you want. Haven't I told you? I'm a bit lovesick. I twitched at the corner of my eye and laughed awkwardly. That's more than a bit. What do you mean? Jenny suddenly seemed defensive. You said, even if I am lovesick, you'd still like me. You better keep your word. If you like competing so much, then let's keep things as they were. I won't take it easy on you, you can count on that. But remember, whatever I gain, it'll end up being yours anyway. Isn't it a little less fun and exciting that way? Billy, won't you find me boring? I shook my head. No. I couldn't help but wrap my arms around her, patting her head. This girl self-deprecates so much I almost feel sorry for her. Sweetheart, let's be confident. I love you no matter what. Jenny straightened her back. She was back to her old self. The day I married Jenny, my grandpa gave me the CEO position of the company, because I did a great job with the Yukon project. Sure, I know marrying Jenny played a tiny role in that. I'd like to rely on myself, but my wife is just too competent, and that's out of my hands. My incredibly capable wife whispered in my ear. I feel like crying. What do? I turn my head, amused, then cry. Jenny's eyes welled up instantly. She hugged me tightly. I finally made my dream come true. I laughed in her embrace. What's your dream? My dream is to be the most special person to Billy.